I apologize if you were waiting on me.
No problem. I just thought you might want to be involved. All right, so the time is now 5:05, and we'll go ahead and call the Garnett City Commission meeting for October 8th, 2020 to order. If you'd please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll go ahead and give the invocation. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day that we've been given, for the opportunity to come together to make decisions for our community. Please guide us in all that we do and say, that our actions might be a light unto this community and that they might see the glory in you and everything. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
All right, citizens to be heard. Is there anyone who is participating in this call that would like to contribute anything? Now, I don't know if there are any hands raised because I cannot pull up the screen, but does it look clear, I guess?
Yes, unless Nathan has something.
Okay. All right, then we'll go ahead and move on to regular business, consideration of rezoning application from Derek Holland. Commissioner Gwynn, did you have any questions over this?
I talked to Chris this afternoon. I guess I had several questions and they got answered on the wording. I don't know if Terry had a chance to look at the ordinance number 4216, but I guess we're really not there yet. But the west half of that block is what we're discussing, I guess, and got clarity on that. So I guess as of right now, I got all my questions answered.
Okay, great. And I did not have any questions when I was reviewing the packet that you sent. I saw that it was approved unanimously 5-0. It appeared to have been mailed out well in advance of the hearing, and there wasn't any opposition at the meeting. So I don't have any questions or concerns, especially given the location of the property that he wants to have rezoned and what is currently there. So Chris, unless you have anything else to, I don't know, clarify or contribute, we can move on with the approval.
The only thing I would clarify would be that this will actually be ordinance 4215.
Okay.
We already had an ordinance plan for Tuesday's meeting, and so there was a little bit of mix up in that. This one will be passed first, obviously, if you choose to pass it. So this will be 4215, and Tuesday's ordinance will be 16. In addition to that, we did, Commissioner Gwynn pointed out that with the fact that the east half was not needing to be annexed, the west half is the only, or sorry, not annexed, but rezoned. The west half is the only section that needs to be rezoned. At least my interpretation of the language in the ordinance was that we didn't need the first paragraph there, which addressed lots 1 through 4. And so all we needed was the second paragraph, just that one line that rezoned lots 5 through 8. And so I have modified the ordinance to read that way. And I think that's what we need to approve. In my opinion, I didn't have a chance to clarify with City Attorney Solander, given that he is out of town until next Tuesday. But so my recommendation anyways would be to approve as we've modified it, basically just removing that first initial paragraph. And in the event that for whatever reason we need that first paragraph, I don't believe that we do, but then we can always redo that come Tuesday's meeting, because Terry should be there on Tuesday. So
okay.
Yes, just
so,
as you have there, just basically eliminated that initial paragraph there.
Okay, so it would be making a motion to approve ordinance 4215 as it pertains to lots 5, 6, 7, and 8 of block 61 in the city of Garnett.
Correct. Those are the only lots that need to be rezoned, correct, Garrett?
Yeah, yes, that is correct.
Thank you, sir.
Very good.
Okay, well, kind of made a motion there. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All right, so moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. So we'll go ahead and move on to item B, consideration of fiber agreement from JMC Corporation. Chris, what exactly are we looking at approving today? Is it the grant agreement that you want to approve, or are we just, I mean, it said tentatively on the agenda, so I wasn't quite sure if you wanted to move forward with that or just have a discussion about it.
Yes, so the reason why I had tentatively on there was because I wasn't entirely sure we were going to have the agreement worked out between both parties ahead of this evening's meeting. So in the event that it wasn't ready, we would just address it at Tuesday's meeting. In the event that you aren't comfortable with the language, or we want to discuss something further, we can certainly have it on Tuesday's meeting for final approval there. But Mr. Perez, the CEO of Quickcom, is here with us, and so hopefully we can work out anything there if you have questions. But I was hoping to move forward with an approval if you are so inclined. The agreement in front of you is essentially the grant agreement that we will issue them a grant for $50,000 in exchange for them building out fiber to the community, both fiber to the home and to the businesses, as well as providing a dark fiber link to all city facilities there on Appendix A. We did address a few other city facilities today. Commissioner Gwynn, conversation earlier, had some good ideas with regard to linking substations, and we were looking at, well, it'd be good to include water towers and a couple other facilities like the ball complex, et cetera, that we were thinking about a little bit later on. And so I spoke with Mr. Perez regarding that, and he said, well, that might be something that certainly we can look at doing in the future, but that that might be something that we do a little bit differently depending on the scenario. We can do some of those probably via fiber, and some others we might do via some other wireless links or something, but we can work out something to provide internet service to those areas and improve our overall connectivity. So Zach, did you have anything to add to that?
So to be clear, the extra sites was the 2 water towers, the 2 substations, the rock stadium, swimming pool, ball complex, and the parks and cemetery office. So it was going to add a pretty considerable amount of construction fiber length to add all those sites today. One thing I mentioned was the parks and cemetery office. We probably would just go ahead and add today. We're okay with that. It's right next door to the rec center, if I'm understanding the location correctly.
That is correct. And the swimming pool is right across the street there too, but that might be a little bit more of a challenge.
It takes a different path though to get there, is the downfall to it.
Gotcha. But I think the hang up there as well was the way we have it worded at this point. Initially, it was a $50,000 grant up front. I asked for it to be modified to where it was $25,000 up front and $25,000 upon completion of the city's interconnectivity. So that way it was, there was half of that reserved for some completion of the project, and they were willing to agree to such, but in conjunction with that, then obviously they're wanting to have that money before they really move on with some of these additional sites.
All right, so the addition of these other sites, that's not actually an additional cost then, right?
Oh, go ahead, Zach, sorry.
Some of the ideas we had was maybe working out a low cost, service to some of those sites. For instance, the water towers are going to be pretty contingent on the city buying a new SCADA system in the future, if I understand right, Chris. So that could be 6 months, that could be 6 years, right? And so we thought we'd work some of those out as those came about, and whether that
Okay.
be some small build out costs, some small monthly service, we could address those as they came about. Another idea we had is maybe a future partnership with the city on putting Wi-Fi in down at the baseball complex, and then allowing the city to utilize some internet down there. I think the big thing I heard was, point of sale system, being able to take credit cards, et cetera, down there. And making that more feasible for people to do business. So there's some other things that we can do creatively in the future. One beautiful thing about QuickCom is we really appreciate and strive to have community partnerships. So I wouldn't say, well, it's not on this piece of paper, it's never going to happen. We're always open to looking at things in the future.
Okay. So all of these facilities that are listed, then that is going to be what is covered as part of the money that is given this time around with the 50,000 plus what the county's given. Is that correct?
I don't know if I have the exact same appendix in front of me that you, Chris, that you sent out to the commission, so I can't verify that on my side.
It's the initial list that we were looking at. So that, because Zach and I were going back and forth a little bit today, looking at adding some of these sites. And so what you have in front of you as the commission is the initial proposal. And so we would add to that as Zach said, the parks facility, which is just adjacent to the north of the current recreation center. So that would be the only other kind of initial add-on to that list that you currently have on your appendix. The other sites would be, future service extensions that we would work out.
Okay.
Did Terry have a chance to review this, Chris?
So Terry, the agreement that you have in front of you was the agreement that Terry brought to me this morning, or that he dropped off late yesterday afternoon. So yes, he wrote that. I shouldn't say he wrote it. It was an agreement presented to us by QuickCom, and Terry reviewed it, added a paragraph, and tweaked a little bit of the language, but it's substantially still the same agreement that QuickCom provided to us, with a couple of additions from Terry, and that's what he dropped off. But he is out of town, so I wasn't able to confer with him on anything additional today.
And that was agreeable to the county councilor?
So they have a slightly different agreement because they actually ended up having two agreements, one for CARES Act and one because they're getting a separate pot of money from COVID relief, and then basically their agreement that is very similar to ours with regard to the coming out of the county's budget, just like this is coming out of our budget. So that's really, but substantially they're the same between the county's agreement coming out of their budget and ours. City Attorney Solander had been in communication with County Councilor James Campbell, and they were discussing how to proceed with regard to these agreements. And my understanding, at least, is that Terry was utilizing those communications with Mr. Campbell in his review of this contract.
Okay, and what came up earlier in the week about the Kansas Fiber Net, Zach, I talked to Bert Peterson and Mike Burns. Is everything good? I just want everything to be up front and make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, so KFN's business is in many parts substantially different than ours. We do offer to sell enterprise services to they as well as they do, but we target small, medium businesses as well as residential in addition to that. So it's not really a big problem there.
Okay.
Competition's good for everybody.
All right. And I guess Zach's good with the contract as it's written.
Yeah, we have reviewed it and we're good with it.
All right. I guess I got all my questions out of the way.
The only other question I had was, and I don't remember seeing this unless it is somewhere on this appendix, on the back of this appendix A page of the map, was it had mentioned that the distribution lines will mostly be aerial that shall be underground in the area specified as underground on the layout map previously furnished to the city. And I don't think that I ever saw this map that was referenced. And I wasn't quite sure which areas it was that would be underground as opposed to aerial.
So and I can send you that map. I apologize for not getting that to you. But there are a few areas in town where currently all of the electrical is underground. Very few areas, but for instance, Lakeshore, Lakeview Drive is one. Back west and behind of Miller Hardware and that area, as well as Country Club Lane and Ivy Terrace. I think those are the three that are addressed on Quickcom's map. And then we have an additional area that Quickcom didn't have on their map, but I made sure to, and I believe Zach's, understanding and agreeable to including this in the build out, but Links Drive on the east side of the golf course is also all underground utilities. And so that's,
we do have Links Drive added to the build out design now. And the run to the airport is also underground.
okay, terrific. If you would, Zach, would you be willing to send that updated map to me, and then I can forward that on to the commission?
Yes, I can. It is important that we keep that map somewhat confidential, as it does have some proprietary network information on it. But I'm happy to share it with the city.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
But so those would be the I guess the 5 areas then that I'm aware of that would be underground. Was there anywhere else that I'm missing, Zach, that you guys were looking at doing underground?
Those are the main ones. Like I said, the airport, and then when we route to the landfill, that's underground, and then those housing additions. Looking at it here, Eric, do you know of any other things?
The only one I didn't hear mentioned was this one.
Country Club. Yeah, he got that one.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No,
I
I
do
didn't
know
think of anything else.
Kansas Fiber Net, as Commissioner Gwynn was mentioning a little bit ago, they also have received a grant. I submitted a letter of support for their grant funding from the Spark Coronavirus Relief here a few months ago, and they received notice of award that they received that, and so they gave me a heads up that they received that money, and so they're going to build out to a few anchor institutions in the community. I think there's around a dozen, and that they're planning on extending their fiber service to, with City Hall being included on that list. City Hall, the fire department, the library, as well as the county courthouse, and numerous other locations in town. But those are the 3 city facilities. And their entire build that they're looking at doing is all going to be underground. So there will be some more fiber build in the community that will be all underground, but that'll be a different outfit. They're only doing those customers. They're not going to be building out to the entire community, as is the plan that Quickcom is moving forward with. And they're going to obviously interconnect more than just our 3 facilities here downtown. They're going to interconnect all these various city facilities for us. I also spoke with Vive Broadband, who has been in the community for quite a long time, at least since my arrival a few years ago. And they also are now looking at providing fiber service to the community, are looking at doing a more of a fiber build out. But for them, it's not something they're looking at doing in a large build right now. They're wanting to do it basically if they get enough customers signed up that are wanting to upgrade. And I said, well, we're looking at moving forward with Quickcom. We've already verbally agreed to an agreement with them to have them build fiber to the home, and they said, well, they're still willing to build fiber to customers here and compete. And so, as Zach said, competition is good, and hopefully we'll have fiber throughout the community here shortly, and be able to be an attractive place for businesses and residents alike.
Chris, I had one other question about has the poll agreement been worked out so there's no surprises in the end to either party?
So the poll agreement we've already agreed to. QuickCom is, correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, but I believe we're on the same page that you expect us to increase our fees here in the near future from the current $3 a year cost. We are looking at this juncture going to $10 a poll per year, which is at least what I am going to recommend to the governing body. But in order to do that, working with Terry on trying to get basically a letter drafted to go toward these other companies that we currently have pole attachment agreements with, and say, hey, we're severing our relationship. We don't actually want to sever the relationship, but we have to sever the contract, the franchise, the pole attachment agreement, and then basically say, hey, we want you still here in town if you want to be here, but we're going to have to increase our fees. It's been $3 a pole since '76, and we need to increase those, and we'll increase them to $10 a pole. And to my understanding, Zach and I have had this chat a couple times, and they're completely expecting that in the near future. It just needs to be fair that we're not charging them $10 a pole and we're only charging $3 a pole for everybody else.
Yeah, I think we added something to the contract. I don't have it in front of me. To some regards of the city being able to change that rate. Obviously lower the better, but $3 is probably a little low. So.
Okay, I just didn't want to have any surprises in the end. Discussion.
Okay, so Chris, then with this grant agreement, would you say that you're comfortable with moving forward with approval tonight, or should we just go ahead and wait till Terry is available to review?
As there is no language that has changed from what Terry provided to me, I would say I'm comfortable with the agreement as presented. The only thing that could, potentially be in question would just be the sites, but I believe that we've got a good agreement in place, and we'll certainly work with QuickCom, and I believe them to be good community partners that we'll be able to move forward with these other sites and work out a reasonable deal on making sure we get these other sites connected in the future.
So, I just out of curiosity, from a city standpoint, where are the funds coming from, the 50,000 that we're providing? So
I will essentially, given that all departments are going to be hooked up to this, all different city facilities are going to be hooked up to this, I'm going to split it out amongst the different funds that we have where different departments are housed, because everybody's going to benefit from it. All personnel are going to benefit from it. And so, that way it'll be, instead of just say government administration or the electric fund, or, one fund having to absorb all $50,000, we'll be able to distribute that cost and more equitably assign that based upon the benefit that's going to be allotted per department. For instance, economic development will receive a very small portion of that because there's one employee in that department, and government administration and the electric utility will receive much larger shares of that $50,000 because it's going to benefit many more people.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. And just out of curiosity, as far as the grant agreement is concerned, will the appendix be attached to this, or is it just standalone?
So the appendix is a part of the agreement, yes. So it will be attached.
Okay, so I just didn't know if it would be appropriate to approve it if the list isn't exactly completed on it. And it's been formed.
And the only thing that I would, I guess, say that I would add to the list that you have would be that Parks and Recreation Facility, just north of the Recreation Center. The other locations, we were looking at having an agreement that, hey, this is going to be provided in the future, but it not be
Right.
something that is contingent, this $50,000 is necessarily contingent upon.
Okay,
What Quicom was wanting the agreement to look like, to my understanding.
okay,
One thing,
thank you.
Bridget, that I think one way the city, the way I understand, is going to recoup our money on this deal or our investment is that we'll get the full agreement fees annually, and we'll get the franchise fee annually. So we'll recoup our money through those ways.
Yeah, that's great. All right, then I will go ahead and, oh wait, Commissioner Gwen, did you have any more questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, Chris, do you have any more comments you'd like to make the move forward?
I do not at this time.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the grant agreement for, I guess, for the fiber agreement from JMZ Corporation. Do I hear a second?
I would second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, motion passes. Good. All right, second, citizens to be heard. Anyone have any comments? All right, then I'll go ahead and make a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Well, thank you everyone for attending the meeting. It was great to have you all here to be able to clarify all the questions. And let's move forward with this.